Hey there, hi there, ho there, it's Wispapedia. I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2 lately, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with Season 12. I want to focus on Season of the Hunt, so I will not be talking about my impressions of Beyond Light in this video. I have a feeling Beyond Light content will be building alongside the seasonal content, so maybe we can revisit that closer to the release of The Witch Queen, in a retrospective. Also, Season 12 is not over yet, and I know that if anything comes out in the next 2 or 3 weeks that fundamentally changes the season, awesome, but I'm personally not really expecting that to happen. Let's go! Part 1. The Narrative. I wanted to start this off with a positive note. I really enjoyed the narrative of this season. The biggest thing about Season of the Hunt was that the events felt more connected than usual, and way more character-driven than past seasons. I always enjoy a narrative where the character moves the plot. The growing relationship between the Guardian and Crow is really interesting. We may have internal conflicts about Crow, but from a philosophical and narrative standpoint, Crow is a completely different character than Uldren Sov. I have always wanted to see what it would be like to meet a character we already knew after they had been resurrected. In universe, this has to be an extremely challenging idea. Could you imagine seeing risen friends and loved ones who don't recognize you? It's even more challenging if that person were a mortal enemy that we're forced to accept. I like Crow myself. Bungie's writers did a good job of differentiating him from Uldren, and the voice actor has done some seriously great work here. And man, all those lines about how effective our Guardian is and how Crow would hate to be on our bad side are just... Anyway, I also like that Crow still has some positive attributes of Uldren. It answers some questions about how similar a Guardian is to their old life. Even though a Guardian is a blank slate, there are some aspects of their former personality that they retain. I love this idea. This is a personal tie to the characters in the universe, and it definitely builds on the drama and connection to the world. The High Celebrant quest, however, felt partially anticlimactic. Progressing the lore updates was nice at the beginning of the season, but didn't necessarily feel like we were getting closer to the High Celebrant until the quest finally just launched. It was partially unceremonious. I think the content spread over a season is fine, but it would be really interesting if there were a way to visualize this progress as the season went on. A good example of this was in Season of the Worthy, when the Darkness ships were closing in before Season of the Arrivals. Small week-to-week changes really help to show the world is changing. We did get this season, but it was in the form of a screen of text. To me, that's among the least engaging ways to reach a player. The Hawkmoon quest was awesome, all around. I will touch on this more later, but wow. There was so much cool stuff to the quest line. I loved the lore, I loved the voice acting, I loved the atmosphere. Yes, gimme that weird Xivu Arath stuff. Taken in the Dark Forest, rad, I love it. Harbinger was extremely refreshing. It made me think about playing Destiny in a way I haven't really ever done. I really liked it, and I love that we can farm it every week till we get the specific Hawkmoon we want. It's a more friendly way to incorporate the old RNG of the weapon. Overall, this season has probably had the strongest narrative we've seen in a single season. Part 2. Gear. Okay, so the gear isn't the most inspiring we've had in Destiny. The gear this season is fine, but we don't really have an archetype-defining weapon. I'll talk about the weapons first, and then I'll touch a bit on the armor. Duality, the season exotic. I liked this exotic, and the intrinsic perk is really fun. I haven't played with it enough, mostly because it kind of got overshadowed by other exotics in Beyond Light. That's on me though, and I think I just need to spend more time with it. I've heard the Catalyst is a little underwhelming, and even though I'm pretty close to unlocking it, I haven't yet. Maybe one day. Friction Fire. So, pretty much every single Friction Fire that I got, I just immediately sharded. I don't particularly enjoy using SMGs, so there's that, but I have heard some people enjoy their Friction Fire. I'm happy for them. It's not for me, but that's cool. Royal Chase is good. It's a decent scout rifle. I like mine that rolled with full auto trigger and Dragonfly. It was enjoyable enough when I used it for the triumphs, but it's not something I am dying to always use. That said, scout rifles in general aren't overly strong right now. I think my problem is its design, honestly. Deafening Whisper. Okay, this one is cool. Give me that sweet wave frame. Give me Ambitious Assassin. Give me Wellspring. Yeah, I actually really enjoy this for trash mobs and PvE. It's a fun patrol gun, and if they ever buff breach-loaded grenade launchers, this will probably be in a really good spot. The design is fine, but not overly hitting that wow factor. Corsair's Wrath. I'm always happy to see a new linear fusion rifle. They're kind of my favorite. I really enjoyed them in Vanilla D2, and I'm glad we at least have a new one in the weapon pool. I just wish any of them felt really different from each other. It makes it hard for any of these to stand out. This one is good though, and I also really like the design of it. Blast Patu. Holy crap, man, I love Chain Reaction. This weapon is great just because of that perk, and I'm so glad I can roll with it. I enjoy my Blast Patu, and it's sort of becoming a standard PvE grenade launcher for me. Great for clearing trash mobs. Pretty good design. Armor. The best armor, stats-wise, is from the Season Pass. I don't know how I feel about that, but the third set of Season Pass armor is always guaranteed high stats. It seems like that way every season. I get it, it just kind of feels a little odd. The aesthetic is really cool though, and I really enjoyed earning the armor ornaments. My Titan looks like a Beetleborg, so I'm content. The ornaments for all 3 classes are pretty strong, and I'm a fan of any armor that looks like the stuff we've been fighting. Overall, I feel like the main problem with the gear this season was that it was inoffensive. From a design standpoint, they are probably the closest we've gotten to realistic looking weapons, and I don't think I personally need that in Destiny. I like the fantastical guns we normally get. Aside from the grenade launchers, there weren't major game-changing new perks. Biggest problem with the gear is that it was all mostly just fine. Part 3. Gameplay loop. The loop of charging the lore by doing core playlist activities makes a lot of sense. I see the benefit of synergizing core playlists with seasonal activities. However, I typically want to be able to just load up a new activity. The lore charges were slow to charge in the beginning of the season, and it would only hold 3 charges. Bungie did change this, decreasing how many activities you needed to complete to earn a charge, and increasing the number of charges the lore could hold. This was a great fix. I think the beginning of the season would have been received better if it functioned this way from the start, or even if that were a lore upgrade. I feel like the hunts themselves would have been more interesting with more variety. We had 4 bosses to pick from for 2 months, and they were more or less the same fight, just different types of enemies. Honestly, the most interesting fight was probably the Knight because it could teleport. But if you had a strong power weapon equipped, the fights against tier 2 Wrathborns last a minute or so at best, and that's just solo. I don't know what the fix could be because bullet sponge bosses aren't really fun either, and a new mechanic could be interesting at first but get tedious over time. I like a good hunt, but they get very repetitive. Couple this with the fact that we have had wanted bounties, nightmare hunts, and empire hunts over the past few years, and Wrathborn hunts feel pretty samey after a while. I like that they weren't just a new public event, but I definitely feel like seasonal activities should differentiate themselves from other activities more going forward. It would be a welcome change in the variety of gameplay. The exotic quests, particularly Hawkmoon quests, were really fun. I liked the challenge of these missions, Harbinger especially so. Harbinger also challenged the way I typically think about jumping puzzles, with the puzzle at the beginning blending seamlessly into the environment. It was a joy to try to find the correct path forward and explore the belly of the dam in the EDZ. I'm glad it wasn't timed though, because I was lost for like 90% of that quest. It was fun, and it was difficult. I like when you have encounters in Destiny that make you rethink movement and loadouts. This quest did exactly that, and I'll be looking forward to getting my perfect Hawkmoon at some point throughout this year. The mechanics of the quest are interesting, and the Raid Secrets sub has already started digging into some hidden mechanics of the mission. The exotic missions are fantastic, and I'm happy with how they have progressed with the seasonal content. Overall, the hunts have largely been repetitive, and I wish the seasonal content were a bit different from other content. They're fun enough, but I wasn't motivated to do them every single week. The exotic quests are definitely the high point of the season's content. There's a fun level of challenge, and I've really enjoyed the seasonal exotic quests this time around. Part 4. Overall thoughts. This season was a decent start for the year narratively speaking. I'm looking forward to seeing how the story will progress throughout the year and how Bungie uses Crow and other characters to move the narrative. The gear itself wasn't my favorite aesthetic, but that is also my own personal preference. I really think the biggest problem is the gameplay loop. It hasn't really changed very much in the last 6 or 7 years, and in fact I think that's probably the most pressing problem with Destiny right now. It doesn't really feel like there's much to do after you get to the power cap aside from Grandmaster Nightfalls, but I am confident Bungie will have an answer for this in the next few upcoming seasons, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what is coming next. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Go ahead and do the usual YouTube things. You can also see more from me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Wispepedia, and I'll catch you next time.